So in this session, we are going to see how to use optional vouchers and what is optional voucher. So first we'll understand what is optional voucher. So this optional vouchers are non-accounting vouchers who can mark any existing vouchers as optional by pressing Ctrl L. So in Tally Prime, we have an option called Ctrl L. By using this shortcut key, you can make any voucher type as a optional. And optional voucher does not affect your books of accounts. The transaction will be passed, but it will not give any effect for your books of accounts, and it will be shown in optional voucher register. And if you want to affect your books of accounts, then you have to remove the optional voucher and you have to make it as regular again by using the same shortcut key. So optional vouchers can be used for forecasting future sales projections, to see the impact of transactions without actual posting them, and the transaction that is incomplete to affect the accounts. So we'll see how it works in Tally Prime with this optional voucher. You can go to Tally Prime. So let me pass one sales transaction. So by using a party name called Avanayukta Solutions and a sales ledger which we have created already. So we go with a computer as a stock item, one number 30,000 rupees for example, and we'll accept this sales transaction. So this is a normal sales transaction where this transaction will affect our books of accounts. So let's check. So we go to our reports in display, accounts book, sales register. So it is affecting my sales register here. It is showing a value. And even if you come to our profit and loss account, it is showing in my sales account field. And even in a balance sheet, it is affecting in current asset, that in the debtors which we need to receive our amount from Avanayukta Solutions. So it is affecting now. So what we'll do is we'll open the same transaction from the report level itself and we'll make it as optional. So in the shortcut key, we have an option called optional. So once you press optional, you can see the status called optional here. And if you are giving a print command after making optional, so this invoice will be printed as per forma invoice. So you can see here it is showing as per forma invoice. If it is not optional, then it will be printed as tax invoice. So I'll show even that. So I'll just remove this optional and I'll make it as regular again by using the same shortcut key. So we'll go with a print preview. So it shows our invoice. The heading of the invoice will get changed. So if you go with optional, it shows per forma invoice. So per forma invoice is an estimated invoice sent to the seller to the buyer in advance before delivering the goods, stating that it is an estimation bill what it takes place. So if you go with the optional printout of your sales, in the printout heading it shows a per forma invoice. It is nothing but like a estimation part, and if you have made a optional, then it won't affect your books of accounts. So let's see, now we have made our optional and we'll accept this transaction again to get affected. So once it is done, nothing is showing in my balance sheet, and even in my profit and loss account nothing is there. So even if you go to a sales register, so there is no transaction. So we have passed a transaction with the optional thing so it is not affects my books of accounts. So this will be shown in your exceptional reports optional voucher. So we go with exceptional report optional voucher. It shows in this report how many transactions you have passed by using option called optional voucher. So if you want to make it as regular again, you can press enter and you can make it as regular. So before making it regular, you can see we have passed a invoice number as 1 in performa invoice. And if you want to pass a new transaction, the invoice number will be used as 1 itself. So let me pass this transaction again. So I'll pass one more transaction like cash sales. I'll not go with appertaining. I go with cash sales and I go with keyboard one number for 250 rupees for example. And I'll accept the screen. So I have passed a normal sales transaction by using the invoice number 1, and so we'll see the performa invoice from the report level now. So we go to exception reports, optional voucher, exceptional reports. You'll be getting optional vouchers here. So it says a bill number 1. The bill number 1 now we have passed for cash sales of rupees 250. So if I make it as regular and will accept the screen, let me check what happens. It has got accepted. So let me see a report. So what is the bill number it has been taken? We go to accounts book, sales register, and we'll see. So the optional voucher has gone with 1 and the next transaction has taken as invoice number as 2. So if you have any optional vouchers, before making it regular, make sure that there is no transaction has been passed after that particular transaction. Otherwise your voucher numbers will be keep on jumping. Or what we can do, the best thing is, if you want to give a performa invoice or estimations, you can create a new voucher type. We go with a create new voucher type as performa invoice under sales, and while creating a voucher type itself, you can enable an option called make this voucher type as optional by default. If this option is yes, by default whatever the transaction you pass by using this performa invoice, it will be in optional report. It will not affect your books of accounts. So we'll accept the screen and we'll pass a voucher by using performa invoice. So we'll be getting two options, sales and performa invoice. So if you go with sales, it says a bill number 3. So we go with a performa invoice, it says a bill number 1, and by default the status is optional. So we have not pressed a regular or optional shortcut key in a shortcut key panel. So whenever you use a performa invoice, this will be optional by default because we have predefined it in voucher creation level itself. So you can use this voucher to give a performa invoice so that it will not trouble your sales invoice voucher numbers. So here we go with one transaction, one number, 30,000 rupees. I will pass this transaction by using performa invoice. I'll also pass one more transaction for the same party for keyboard, one number, 250 rupees. So let's see our transactions now. Let's go with the sales register, display, accounts book, sales register. So we are getting only two transactions, one for Amanata and one for cash. So it is not affecting my sales register what we have just passed by using a performa invoice. So if you see a performa invoice report, exceptional reports, optional voucher. So here we are getting a two transaction which we have used, and it is not affecting my sales transaction. So if you want to go with the sales transaction, so you can enter on it, go with a sales option again and select a sales voucher and then make it as regular. So in this case what happens, it will not affect your sales invoice numbers. You will just convert a performer invoice into a sales voucher type, a different voucher type itself, so that your voucher number will be continuous. It won't disturb your voucher number sequence. So this is how you can use optional vouchers, and this optional vouchers can be used for any voucher type. We have used only for sales. The same optional voucher can be used for any transactions. So you can use it for contra voucher. The option called optional is available. Even for payment we have an option. Even for receipt we have an option. Journal we have an option, which means you can use optional voucher for any transactions. So we have understood what is optional voucher and how we need to pass this. Thank you.